weekend? Well, we can create a big old inspiring and creative Talk Fest is kicking off in Auckland on Friday. A whole bunch of side events going with that as well. And we talked last week or early this week about the overall event itself. But there's a whole bunch of creative people coming from around the world to talk and inspire. And Morag Myerscough is one of those people. And she joins me in the Kiwi studio this morning, direct from, was it London? Is
London, yeah.
Yes. Welcome to New Zealand.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to be difficult to pin down exactly what you do or define what it is. Artist, environmental designer, architect, or a big mix and mash of
well, not an
them.
architect, because I'd be told off if I was an architect, but I am, an environmental graphic designer, interior designer, all sorts of things. Just a designer.
A designer.
Yeah.
And what inspires you? Where do you draw from? What really gets you excited?
My surroundings, where I live, who I go out, going out, going to see films, just always sort of getting out, doing things, travelling, coming here.
Yeah.
And seeing different places and meeting different people, and that I think that's the basis of my thought process, really.
Yeah, and on a day-to-day basis, what are you working with? Are you creating art for art's sake and getting people thinking, or have you got clients that you are creating spaces for?
No, I work for clients, and I work a lot in the public realm. So I work a lot in spaces at the moment. In London, there's this horrendous roundabout called Elephant and Castle with a big space in the middle that I think in the old days maybe people thought would be nice, but actually is just a desolate space. So I'm working with the art college there, and we're building a big cinema in there to show the students' work.
Right.
So it's sort of, that's one project. Then I work with young people as well. So very, very varied. And then big exhibitions like Christian Louboutin and things like that.
So is it taking boring spaces and making them exciting again? Is that the basis of it?
Yeah, I think boring is probably not the word, but maybe
bland,
or maybe sort of unwanted spaces, and to try and put a narrative in buildings so that you sort of can interpret it on different levels.
Almost telling the story.
It's a story, yes,
and
the story might be the school that's in the. I do lots of schools, so it's how to express the school so that the people in the school feel that they belong, and so it's taking, referencing, and brief, and working very much with briefs and listening to people and responding to them.
It's a lot of it seems to be. I'm just looking through some of your portfolio. A lot of it seems to be on a large scale.
Yes,
doesn't
large
it?
Scale. Yes,
and enormous budgets.
No, very small budgets.
Very small budgets.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I make do and mend. We hand paint those things, so I get some friends and people, and we'll hand paint the shipping containers. Shipping containers. Reason we did that because that is actually the Elephant and Castle, the college, London College of Communication.
Yeah. And
that's just next to this roundabout, and there's quite a lot of trouble there. So in the streets, so we had to use shipping containers because when the students did their exhibitions there, nobody could do anything to the space at night.
Right.
So a lot of things, working with the environment around you and making things robust.
With the Olympics coming to London next year, has that kept you busy?
No, I haven't. I only did one project on the Olympics, which was High Street 2012, where I looked at the master planning of the road, the road from Whitechapel to Stratford, which is the last marathon run section, and I looked at the master plan, but that's it. I haven't worked on any projects.
Do you ever work with architects right from the beginning of a building project before a building is even built?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And what sort of client would require that? What sort of client says to an architect, "I want you to design a building, but then I also want an artistic spin on it from another source"?
Well, I've worked with the architects Alfred Hall, Monaghan Morris for a really long time, and they know what I can add to their buildings, so they encourage that I get involved from the very early on.
Right.
And then when you see how much difference it makes in the building, then people. So Westminster Academy is the one that everybody, the way why it works is that the architect has allowed or made space for the graphics to work in the building, so you're not fighting against the architecture.
Yeah.
So we work totally collaboratively.
Wow.
And it's great.
It must be great. I mean, it must be so satisfying at the end of the day to have a project that's right from the beginning, right from the plans, all the way through to actual conception and made.
Definitely. And what's happened in that school, which was quite had not very good marks previously, has improved so much, and the young people who use the school love their school. And I think what I feel surprised about really is I didn't know how much effect that if you do everything well, you choose the right furniture, you consider everything that people need, that actually they will respond to it in a very positive way. We
hear this a bit, don't we? And particularly we invoking Alain de Botton with the architecture of happiness, that our surroundings have an effect on our well-being,
definitely,
our health and our mood. You definitely believe that?
I definitely believe that, but I don't think there's a formula to it, and I don't think you always know why that happens, but I do know that colour and light, natural light and colour, really give people a sense of well-being. And because I worked on a healthcare centre where we've just put masses of colour and everybody feels much better. Yeah. Even if they're ill, when they come in, when they leave, they're happier.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think Londoners would be happier at the moment if their surroundings, particularly in some places, you don't call them projects in London, do you?
The estates.
Estates. If the estates were designed better, if that was a happier environment.
You mean referring to things like the riots and stuff like that? Well, I mean, there has been huge amounts of improvement in London, and a lot of those estates, have there's not as many of them exist as they were built originally. I don't know. I mean, employment. I think there's bigger issues as well there. I do believe.
But all put in the mix.
Yes, I think if you could put the whole thing in and you could improve it, absolutely.
I mean, I guess you can't say that if everyone lived in a Teletubby house,
they'd be happy.
They'd be happy. They'd still need a job, and be able to put food on the table.
That is the thing. But
it would help.
Small steps. I absolutely agree with you, and that's why even some of the space is just introducing things in Elephant and Castle, which is a pretty austere area. That even makes just the passers-by life a little bit more pleasant, than going on the horrible underpass and things. So everything, putting gardens, particularly putting in allotments in places.
We see it on a very small scale around New Zealand at the moment. I'm thinking Auckland on our motorways. Whenever they build new motorways, they etch stuff into the concrete, patterns, trees, New Zealand motifs, that kind of thing. And it does seem to make a difference when you're going through the concrete jungle that someone's made an effort there.
It's about thinking about your space and also but also consulting the people around you, not just imposing things, actually understanding what would be better, make things better for those people. I worked with a young youth club, and I worked completely collaboratively with them, and they briefed me and I responded to them, and that was fantastic. So they felt like they owned everything, but it was designed by who they wanted to design it, because they chose me as well. So no, that's good.
Given, and I know this might be a tough question, you might have had it before, but given an unlimited budget, and you could do anything you want wherever you wanted, what do you think you'd do? I know that's pretty hard.
That is really hard, because
As a Louis Vuitton said, look, we've got a couple of $1 billion here. Away you go.
Oh.
Create a space. Have you created a wonderland before?
No. Well, I am doing something in San Francisco. It's quite a crazy wonderland. I think I'd like to do something. I think that it was interesting you said about the estates and things like that, because I think I'd like to, whenever I look at all concrete buildings, I love them when they're full of plants and stuff. So I think I would like to do something with planting and greening and things like that, and adding trees and I think, and then introducing spaces for people to do things in that they wouldn't otherwise do. So I mean, sorry, it's a bit rambling.
No.
But I've never been given that option before.
Yeah, but imagine. It's interesting you mentioned plantings and green things. Does green technology and sustainability and stuff, does that ever feature in your work? Green buildings, stuff that's friendly to the environment.
Yeah, I mean, I drive an electric car, a little G-Wiz, and I used to have solar power on my roof. Not that was particularly good in Britain, but and I mean, because I do a lot of temporary work, I worry a lot about how it will be reused. So when I start a project, I think about the materials, or if I buy things, we then find a home for them to go afterwards. So all the time I'm thinking like that. And then with my train, I did a train that was made into a cafe. So obviously that was an old train that was then reused. And then with Luke, the guy I work with on the furniture, we made all the furniture from reclaimed laboratory tops. And so, actually, yes, in most of my work I consider the materials I use and how it affects people, and is important.
And what's the next project that you're off to after here in New Zealand?
I am doing quite a... Well, there's one I can't talk about because I just...
I imagine there's a lot of secrecy with this stuff, eh?
I just won it and I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah.
But I'm working on with another designer. We did the Barbican together. We're doing the signage at the new Tate with the architects Herzog and de Moran.
Wow.
And I'm working on the Christian Louboutin exhibition and... lots of schools, and I'm doing a big installation in Lisbon Biennale about redundancy and repetition. Okay. So that's a big installation piece in a square that we're going to build when we get there. So it's quite exciting.
Very, very
September.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds really exciting. And of course, there's a website that you have that features a whole bunch of your work, and what a beautiful website it is too.
Thank you.
StudioMyerscough.com, and you're also part of I suppose it's a collective supergroup, supergrouplondon.co.nz.
.co.uk.
Oh, .co.uk.
Yeah.
Sorry, force
yeah, and that's where I sort of blog and put things on. There's a
as you
workshop.
Holding a plate.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
It was a workshop with young people where we did lots of plate decorating.
Yeah. Okay, you're going to be talking at Weekend Create. Do you know when?
On Friday at 3:15, I think, or 3:30. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Weekendcreate.com. .co.nz is the website, or just type Weekend Create into Google and you'll come across it as well, all the details and how to get along and take part. Really nice having you in, Morag, to talk about all this stuff. Morag Myerscough has been my guest. It is 9:53 here on Kiwi.